When their loyal dog started acting strangely around their newborn, the family decided it was time to say goodbye. This dog is dangerous to our child, but what happened next left them absolutely speechless. The arrival of a newborn is a joyous occasion, but it also comes with sleepless nights, endless worries, and heightened protectiveness. For Sarah and Michael, their happiness was shadowed by growing concerns about their dog, Max. Max had been a part of their lives for years, but with the baby's arrival, things started to change. At first, it was subtle. Max's constant pacing near the baby's crib, his refusal to leave the nursery, and the way he growled softly at anyone unfamiliar who came near. Sarah dismissed it as protective instincts, but Michael wasn't so sure. As the days passed, Max's behavior became more intense. He barked at odd hours, followed the baby relentlessly, and seemed restless and agitated. The tension grew between the couple as they debated what to do. "What if Max accidentally hurts the baby?" Michael would say. Sarah, torn between her love for Max and her maternal instincts, didn't have an answer. One night, after Max barked incessantly while standing by the crib, the couple decided they couldn't take the risk anymore. It was time to say goodbye to their beloved pet. Or so they thought. Little did they know, Max was about to show them something that would change their minds and their hearts forever. Max's behavior only added to the tension in the house. Every time the baby cried, Max was the first to rush to the crib, pacing nervously as if trying to figure out how to help. His intense focus on the baby left Sarah and Michael even more conflicted. One evening, as the baby cooed in the living room, Max suddenly stood rigid, his ears perked, and let out a deep growl. Sarah quickly scooped up the baby, her heart pounding, while Michael tried to calm Max. "This isn't normal," Michael muttered, his unease growing. The next day, Max barked furiously at the window as Sarah was feeding the baby. His barking was so relentless that the neighbors began to notice. "We can't go on like this," Michael said that night, exhausted. "What if he's becoming aggressive? We have to think about the baby's safety." Sarah tried to defend Max, but deep down she couldn't ignore her growing fear. That night, while the baby slept soundly in the crib, Max sat in the nursery, staring intently at the door. When Sarah came to check, Max barely moved, his eyes fixated on the crib as if standing guard. Then came the final straw. One afternoon, as Sarah was in the kitchen, she heard Max barking wildly. She ran to find him standing beside the baby's crib, his body tense, growling low. Sarah panicked and called Michael. "This is it," she said tearfully. "We can't keep him anymore. He's too unpredictable around the baby." Michael hesitated but eventually agreed. They decided Max would need a new home. But just as they began making arrangements, Max's actions one fateful night would prove that their judgment had been wrong all along. Max wasn't being aggressive. He was trying to protect the baby from something they couldn't yet see. Late one night, as the house lay quiet, Max began to stir. At first, it was a low whine, barely noticeable. But soon, it escalated into frantic pacing and soft barks that grew louder with each passing moment. Sarah woke up to the sound and nudged Michael. "Something's wrong with Max again," she whispered, her voice filled with exhaustion. They decided to check on the baby, though their patience with Max was wearing thin. As they reached the nursery, they found Max standing beside the crib, his body tense, ears pinned back, and eyes focused on the baby. He let out a deep, guttural growl, his gaze darting between the crib and the window. "Max, stop," Michael said sternly, stepping closer. But then something caught Sarah's eye. The baby's tiny chest rising and falling unevenly. She rushed to the crib and realized the baby was struggling to breathe. Panic surged through her as she yelled for Michael to call for help. Max continued to bark, pacing anxiously as if urging them to act quickly. The couple managed to calm the baby while waiting for paramedics, who later confirmed that the baby had suffered a brief respiratory issue. Max's frantic behavior wasn't aggression. It was a desperate attempt to alert them to the baby's distress. In that moment, Sarah and Michael realized just how wrong they'd been about their loyal dog. Max wasn't a threat. He was their baby's guardian angel. The realization hit Sarah and Michael like a wave. Max had saved their baby's life. As the paramedics left and the baby rested peacefully in his crib, they looked at Max with newfound gratitude. His anxious pacing, his growls, even his relentless barking. All of it had been his way of communicating something they couldn't see. In the following days, their perspective on Max shifted completely. Instead of seeing his behavior as unpredictable, they saw it as protective. They started noticing the little things they had overlooked before. The way Max stayed by the baby's side during nap time, how he perked up at any unfamiliar sound near the house, and the gentle way he nudged the baby's blanket back into place with his nose. Their bond with Max grew stronger than ever. Michael, who had been the most doubtful, now found himself defending the dog. "He's not just our pet," he said one evening. "He's part of the family." Sarah agreed, feeling a deep sense of guilt for even considering giving him away. One afternoon, while the baby played on a blanket in the living room, Max lay beside him, his eyes alert but calm. The baby reached out a tiny hand, grasping at Max's fur. Instead of flinching, Max leaned in, letting the baby tug gently. It was a moment of pure trust and connection, a silent promise that Max would always protect him. Word of Max's heroic actions spread among their friends and neighbors. People were amazed at how the loyal dog had sensed the baby's distress before anyone else. Sarah and Michael even joked about nominating him for an award. As time passed, Max became inseparable from the baby. They grew up side by side, the dog always watching, always guarding. The fear that once clouded Sarah and Michael's hearts was replaced by love and admiration for their remarkable dog. Max wasn't just a pet, he was family, a protector, a friend, and the silent hero who had changed their lives forever. Looking back, Sarah and Michael couldn't imagine their lives without Max. What they once saw as aggression was, in truth, a selfless display of loyalty and love. Max had proven that sometimes actions speak louder than words. He hadn't just saved their baby's life. He had taught them the true meaning of trust and family. As their baby grew, Max became his constant companion, his protector, and his best friend. Sarah often marveled at the bond between them, a bond forged in a moment of crisis that had brought clarity to their fears. For Sarah and Michael, Max wasn't just a dog anymore. He was a guardian angel, a silent hero who had always been there even when they doubted him. Their hearts were full of gratitude, knowing they had made the right decision to keep him. Max's loyalty would be a story they'd tell for years, a reminder of how love and trust can conquer even the greatest of fears. Did this heartwarming story touch your heart? Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories.